How's it going, everyone? Wyggzz here, back today with another Dream Team video. This time we're going to be focusing here on the NFC East. So that's going to be the Cowboys, the Commanders, the Eagles, and the Giants. We'll just kick it on off. We'll get right on into it. So to start things on off, it's going to be quarterback, which will be Jalen Hurts. I think in the division, Jalen Hurts is more versatile than someone like Dak Prescott. I just think from his running game and his passing game combined, it's just kind of a better mix than what Dak does within the division. I think we maybe could see something like that out of Jaden Daniels this year, but I can't really judge a rookie quarterback at this point, and it's kind of hard for me to tell until I see him play. But I do think Jalen Hurts here has a slight edge on Dak Prescott. He can throw the ball, can run the ball really well, as we've seen. He's got the tush push, like the dude's just undeniable, and I would want him on my team. To move on forward with that, we're going to be taking his running back now this year, as they did pick him up in the offseason. Saquon Barkley, I think Saquon is probably the best running back in the division, and I personally don't care to say that because the division's kind of weak overall, and I'm not a big Saquon Barkley fan, but I kind of have to put him on my team because their running backs in this division are kind of grim, to be completely honest. So that's really the only reason I'm picking Saquon is because he is truly the best running back in the division, and it hurts me to say that, to be honest. Our running back two is going to be Brian Robinson. I know this may shock a few people, but I'd rather have Brian Robinson over the likes of Austin Eckler just due to the simple fact that he showed that he can play and be the guy on that offense last year. I'm not quite sure why the Commanders went for another running back in Austin Eckler, who is, well, injury prone and really has only had a few like truly good seasons because he used to split reps with like Melvin Gordon and then like gets injured every now and then. Like it's just kind of weird for me to see them pick up Austin Eckler, but I think Brian Robinson is probably the second best back here within the division, and that's why I do have him here at the running back too. To move on forward here, we do have our wide receiver one, and I am taking AJ Brown. I think AJ Brown is undeniably the best receiver within this division. I don't care what anyone says. I think CeeDee Lamb is the second best receiver in the NFC East. It's just my opinion. I think overall he's a better route runner. He's built for the role. I mean, he can literally do anything for his team. He does have some targets taken away from him with Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert, and he does have a mobile running back, so yes, that limits his ceiling if you're looking at it from like a fantasy perspective. But overall, I think he is the best receiver in this division, and I know I will take a little bit of heat for that, but I would take him over CeeDee Lamb any day of the week. At wide receiver two, I am going to take CeeDee Lamb. I think he is the second best wide receiver in this division. Don't get me wrong, he had a really amazing year last year, but he also doesn't have like to deal with a mobile quarterback like AJ Brown does. So like there's a lot less room for error. He gets a lot more targets. When I say a lot more, it was maybe like 15 or 20 last year if I'm not mistaken, but it was just the principle of his quarterback's not as mobile. Don't get me wrong, Dak can run the ball, but like it's not like to the level of Jalen Hurts. So for me, CeeDee Lamb, great talent, one of the top five receivers in the league, along with AJ Brown. I would just give AJ Brown that slight curve, and that's why I do have CD here at the wide receiver three. To move forward here, I was torn between taking Devontae Smith and Terry McLaurin. I gave the edge to Smith just due to the simple fact that he has had, on average, over 1,000 yards per year in his first 3 years here in the NFL, and that's all while AJ Brown's getting 13, 1,400 plus yards each year. So to me, that's quite impressive. I kind of wanted to take Terry McLaurin, but like you look at the stats throughout the years, and Devontae Smith is on average, like yes, he came up like 6 yards short his first year, but he's made up for it the last two. He's been around 1050 each year for yards, and then he's had like 6 or 7 touchdowns each year. So like he's been productive, and I personally would want him there as my wide receiver three. Solid receiver. I didn't even think his stats were that good until I really looked in depth on him. So caught me a little bit by surprise there. And then our tight end is going to be Jake Ferguson. I thought Jake had a really good year last year, and I can continue seeing that happen this year as they really don't have like as much depth at receiver as I think like the Commanders and the Eagles both have. I just think the Commanders actually have a little bit of depth there with Johan Dotson as well, but Jake Ferguson to me is kind of like the top tight end. I'd say like yes, you can make an argument for Dallas Goddard, but um, I just think like looking at it between their 2 years last year, Jake Ferguson to me at least was the better of the tight ends. Looking at the other team, I think you got what Zach Ertz on the Commanders, but like Ertz is getting old. I'm not like 100% sold on him. Like he could have a really good year with Jaden Daniels because running backs and tight ends are kind of like rookies like go-to guys. But it's hard to judge, and Ertz has had like struggled to stay healthy, so I haven't seen any issues with Ferguson yet. I believe what it was the second year last year, if I'm not mistaken. So like he's shown he can play. He had a really good year last year as well. Top, I think, I want to say 8 receiver fantasy point wise. So that's kind of why I would go the route of Ferguson here over anyone else in the division. Our bench player one is going to be Terry McLaurin. Again, I was torn between putting him at the wide receiver 3 and this bench player spot, but I think I made the right decision by putting him on the bench. Just looking at the stats, it just hasn't been there. He could have an amazing year here with Jaden Daniels, but like that's just going off assumptions. I'm just going based on the numbers and kind of logically here as I dig deep into things. But Terry McLaurin, I think, is actually a really good receiver. He just really hasn't had the best quarterback play around him for the most part. Sam Howell wasn't bad by all means. I think Sam Howell is actually a pretty decent receiver or quarterback, and I think he should be starting somewhere on one of these rosters, but he's a backup to Geno Smith right now. So it's kind of interesting to see. I understand them picking up a quarterback to a certain extent. I thought they could have wrote it out with Howell personally, but Terry McLaurin is a really good receiver, and I'd want him on my team, so that's why I'm putting him as one of my bench spots. Backup quarterback would be Dak Prescott. Again, I know I'm going to take heat for putting Hurts over Prescott, especially with the year Prescott had last year being, I think, the number 2 quarterback in fantasy points. He threw for over 4,000 yards. I think he actually had 40, 45, 4,400, and threw a lot of touchdowns to CeeDee Lamb last year. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. I'm not a big Dak fan. I just think you look at this division, your other options are a rookie who you could take a chance on. Like I'm not taking anything away from Jaden Daniels. He could be really good this year. He could be like another Jalen Hurts to be completely honest with you, but it's just hard to judge this early at least. So I kind of just put him here. Again, I'm not a big fan of Dak. I haven't thought he was really like outstanding, and he hasn't really put together too many good years back to back to back. But he did really have a good year last year, so I kind of have to put him on my bench right now. I had really no other option. And to round things on off, I'm going to take Malik Neighbors. I think he's got to be the guy for the Giants, and I felt like I had to put some sort of giant player here on this list. You look at that offense, and their running backs are not going to be it. I don't care what anyone says. Singletary is not going to be the guy on that offense. He had like 1 or 2 good games with the Texans last year when they started playing him a little bit more. I don't care how depleted their line was. If you're a running back in the NFL, you need to be able to like make something happen, regardless of how bad your line is. And he just did not prove anything to me last year to like even consider him being a running back on my bench. Same as Austin Eckler, and I was a huge Austin Eckler fan going into this year, and he just hasn't proven that he's like that guy either anymore. So um, I decided that Neighbors would be the guy to go to. You look at the Giants' offense, and the receiving core is like depleted. There is not a whole lot there for them to work with. Like, yeah, you have Wan'Dale Robinson, or actually, I don't even know if they have him. Yeah, they do. I'm pretty sure they do. And you have like 1 or 2 other guys, but nothing's really come from them. It's like hard to judge, and I don't know like what else I could really pick from that team. And you never know what like you're gonna get from Daniel Jones. So especially with how much money he made, you'd expect him to be playing better, but you'd have to think Neighbors is gonna have a good year. Someone's got to pop off on that roster now that Barkley's gone, and they are gonna be like stuck throwing the ball a lot this year. I think so. I think the best option was to go Neighbors here. I think he's going to be the guy on that roster, and he should perform well all year, in my honest opinion. But that's going to round it on off here for the NFC East. Papa Wyggzz will be doing his video here tomorrow as well for you guys, so check that out. I'll compare the 2 teams. We kind of have a few different insights. We kind of agree when we talk about things outside of videos on a lot of things. It's just like minor like adjustments to certain players and whatnot of where they go and what we think. So Make sure to check that on out. If you want to check out our NFC North videos that we previously had, I'll link them here in the video, probably right under the webcam where I have some space for you guys. I'll put it there so you guys can take a look and check it on out. But if you want to stay up to date on everything relating to fantasy football throughout the year, we're going to be starting some mock drafts here shortly. And then once the season rolls around, we're going to be hitting it hard with everything from waiver wires to who to pick up, who to drop, talk about weekly matchups. We're going to be hitting it all. We're just trying to push out some sort of content for you guys right now. Try to give you some early insights of what our thoughts are on players. Like I said, I'm going to be pushing out some mock drafts. I think my dad will be as well here. So expect some of those. I plan on doing it from each position, so we'll kind of give a different insight of what I think you should be picking at each spot. And then I will have a lot of other things. There's a lot coming, guys. There's going to be a lot of uploads, so I recommend subscribing, checking us out on TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, X, Fantasy Fools PPR. I plan on creating a few other things here as well for you guys to check on out. And then Fantasy Fools, obviously, here on YouTube. Make sure to subscribe. Go check out our shorts as well if you want to watch a quick and easy video. It's just literally breaking down all this without even really saying much. It's just boom, boom, boom. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, all that good stuff. So make sure to go check that on out, and we'll see you guys next time.